Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
So Wednesday I'm at Oakmont, and I'm at I got the interviews I needed. I'm all set. So now I'm going to roam around for a little while on the course, and I've been there several times before.
A few times before,
I'm going to roam around a bit before I have to go over to Fox Chapel for the Penn State event with James and the players and the Letterman. And, I finally get over to, I saw Scheffler and Thomas and Morikawa and, saw a bunch of guys. And I finally get over, I went over the church pews, and I'm coming back from the church pews, means you have to go across the bridge. This is after watching Spieth and Hovland putt, and then Hovland driving everybody nuts with the fact that he had to take 250 putts, and they're like, hey, we're done here. On 8, so I go to 9, and when I get to the 9th tee, I'm like, a couple guys are walking up, so I just stop, and I'm right there at the front row. And Tom Kim comes up, and he has FanDuel on his bag. And this group of 4 guys is standing next to me, and they're just talking. I'm listening to them. And one guy says, I lost so much stinking money on FanDuel, I feel like I paid for that bag. Which I thought was a great line.
Good line. Strong.
Right. And I looked over and said, well, if you lose more, I said, the sign could be bigger. He laughed. He goes, yeah. He says, I'm on that track. He says, but I've got my pick for the week. He says, I'm all set. I put it in. He says, it's the other guy in the group. I said, oh, okay. He says, yeah. I said, who's that? I didn't see him walk up yet because they weren't up. He was still crossing the bridge. I said, who's the other guy in the group? He says, I've got everything this week on J.J. Spawn. Right? So I see Spawn walk up, and I knew Spawn. I knew Spawn had been in the playoff with Rory McIlroy, the player. So I knew he was a good player. And they have bios on all the guys in the media tent. So I knew he finished second in Hawaii, and he was in the playoff with Rory at the Players. And Spawn walks up, hits a couple balls. You're like going, geez, he can really pound the thing. But they all can. And he says, he hits his drive. I looked up, J.J. Spawn, huh? He goes, my guy. It's my guy. All right. So after the first round, he's winning. I'm like going, I can't believe it. This guy's like,
this guy knew what he was doing.
Now he wins the whole tournament. Yeah. Now, if he did this right, I think his FanDuel debt is paid off.
Yeah.
He's paid off his debt.
Oh, yeah. Steve, was it a rough day for you or no?
Rough day for me?
Rough. Keyword rough.
I walked in the rough, because we have the ability to kind of roam around a little bit more than most people. And I walked in it, and they said somebody had told me they'd cut it at 5 1/4. And you step in it, and it's just there's no way in heck, that you can find a ball in there if you're just playing your ball off the tee and you have to go find it.
Yeah.
As opposed to a spotter who comes down and puts a flag down. Okay? If you're just playing your ball, you can't do it. And I know, and I say this with all due respect, it's not like I don't know. I mean, I know Oakmont members like Bobby Capretta and people like that, right? I mean, but a friend of mine told me that he has been invited to Oakmont several times. I'm not going to get into who, but he played football at Penn State, and he said, "I won't join." I said, well, "Why not?" And he says, "The course is too tough." He says, "When I go out and play, I want to go have fun."
Yeah,
and he's a member over at Allegheny. Yeah, but he says I don't want to go out and Now they don't have the rough cut for the members at 5.
It is not cut. It is not cut like that.
Right. But it is. I mean, the greens are fast no matter what. The church pews are the church pews no matter what. the members' tees are further up than where they play. They're playing from the tips. The ninth, for example, for the members is a par 5 with the tees up and not a par 4 with the tees back. But what Spahn did yesterday was remarkable. He bogeys 5 of the first 6 holes, but he got a terrible break on 2. He hits a perfect drive, and then he hits a perfect second shot, and it hit the flagstick. And it rolled back because of the contour of the green and the contour leading up into the green. It rolled back 55 yards. And so he ends up getting an unlucky bogey on 2. After the rain and the delay, this guy came out because he had already lost, 5 shots at this point. So he'd gone from 3 under to 2 over. I'm trying to think if he ever got the 3 over. I don't think he did.
3 over. Did
he get the 3?
He bogeyed 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6.
Right. But that's 5 holes. I mean, so he went from 3 under to 2 over. I don't think he ever got the 3 over. No. Which allowed him to stay in the neighborhood. And when, the putty hole on 12 was huge. That was incredible. And that should be a hole that you can get a birdie on. It's the one par 5 you can kind of like play the 3-shot thing. And it's one of the fun things about, when you're allowed to cover it, you get like we get all sorts of emails. All right. I'll show you one that's a fun one. Here we go. We get the map of all the hole locations. Right. So you see, can you see that?
Beautiful.
Okay, good. All right, you can open it up. Like, okay, you can see 18 is 7 yards off the right-hand side. It's 24 yards from the front edge. Okay, that's pretty an cool example. Okay, yeah. So 17, and I'd spent a little bit of time at 17. I watched Scheffler play 17 on Wednesday, and Scheffler he did drive the green on Wednesday. And then he went out about maybe 60, 65 yards out, and he dropped like 7 balls with the idea I might lay up. When Spahn was done at 16, he walked to 17. I was watching with some people, and I said, here comes the biggest single shot of the tournament right here. They said, well, what do you mean? I said, look, he puts it in the rough. He's got to fight. He might have to fight to get a par. So if he puts it on the green, he'll win the tournament. Right? It's a single biggest shot. Yeah. He puts it on the green, and he 2-putts and gets a birdie. That's what you need. You need to be in the fairway. He gets in the fairway. Then he puts it on the left. He caught a big break when Hovland put his ball behind his ball. Because at least he saw the line. Hovland just missed his putt. He saw the line. And then he rolls the thing in. All right. It's not the winning putt. Yeah. Right? Because if he 2-putts, he wins. In other words, he just needed
he needed
a par. Yeah. Right? But he rolls the thing in. It was incredibly dramatic. And I give McIntyre. Give McIntyre credit. McIntyre started day 7 shots back.
He fought.
Right? He got himself in a position to win. But it was great theater. Tremendous theater, as a matter of fact.
And just seeing just purely looking at the scores themselves, it's not often you see a lot of these major golf tournaments have this as the outcome where only one person is under par. Everyone else was over.
But you asked me the other day what I thought the winning score would be, and I told you it would be anywhere between 1 under and 1 over, and I thought only one person would be under par.
I know. But the fact that is what happens.
You listen to anything I told you?
No, you told it to Jason. You didn't tell it to me. You told it to Jason, sir. Sir.
But he doesn't listen. Right? I mean, he's just wondering who's going to back up Brock Purdy.
And I'm like sitting here now looking at it. It just is one of those things that's surprising because you're always like, oh my gosh, golf players are the best in the world. Like, they're great. And then you see it and you're like, okay, like when a course is made tough like this, it is. The fact that you have one player sitting at 1 under is...
Look, there are 3... I don't think people realize this. Mm-hmm. There are 3 permanent courses in the U.S. Open rotation. Mm-hmm. I don't think people know this.
No.
It's Pinehurst, number 2. It's Pebble Beach, and it's Oakmont. Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 permanent. The other, I wouldn't mind if Shinnecock Hills got a permanent spot, but that's
a different story.
It's up to them. And Shinnecock gets it next year. Mm-hmm. But there's a reason why this is in it. It's the reason why they've hosted more than anybody else. This is the 10th time out of 125 they've hosted it. Mm-hmm. I think they're supposed to get it again in 2034. Now, I don't think they've announced it that far ahead, but normally with Oakmont, they've done it in 9-year intervals. They went in 7, they went in 16, now they're going in 25, so my guess is 34 would be the time. Now, they probably haven't announced it that far ahead.
They have Shinnecock 26, Pebble Beach 27, Winged Foot 28, Pinehurst 29, Marion 2030, Riviera 2031, Pebble Beach 2032, Oakmont 2033, Oakland Hills 2034.
Which Erin Hills?
Oakland Hills.
Oakland Hills, that's in Michigan. It's in Michigan.
And then Pinehurst, Shinnecock, Pebble Beach, the Country Club in Brookline. Yeah. The LA Country Club, Marion, Pinehurst, Oakmont in 2042 again, 2049.
You know who won the U.S. Open in Oakland Hills in 1996?
Who did? I'm not a big golf guy. I don't know.
Steve Jones.
Steve Jones. It's a good name.
It's true.
I've heard some people have that name.
LA Country Club, obviously I went over there when we were there. Basketball, I walked over and they said, no, I just wanted to walk over and see it. I told them what I did, and they asked if you ever covered the U.S. Open. I said, sure. They looked at me and said, just walk around, do whatever you want. This is the guards at the gate. Like, they were cool. So, yeah, I walked around. Right, because it's on Wilshire Boulevard, runs in between, like the Pennsylvania Turnpike runs in between 2 through 8, and then everything else is on the other side. It's the same thing with except Wilshire Boulevard. It's different than Pennsylvania Turnpike. It's probably busier. Right. But, yeah, it's on both sides of the road there. So, yeah, L.A. Country Club. Marion is a very – I covered it in 2013. Marion is a very, very tight property. There's only so much you can do with it because of the homes that are built around it. I think it was number 4. Number 4 on Marion, they had the tee box like as far back to the fence as you can be. And then because they wanted it to be a 3-shot to come in 3. And Marion has the baskets and not the flags. So I think I told you the story about walking on 15. It was the 3rd round, and I'm walking back to the media center to put everything together I needed to. And I was doing different things back then than I do now. And so I'm walking down Golf House Road. And it's Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Bernard Fernandez. Okay. So I thought, you know what? Hey, I got a few minutes here. Let's watch the best in the world here play. Tiger was the shortest off the tee because he used an iron. He's the first one to hit, puts it on the green. Tiger's about 20 feet away. Yeah, pretty good. He's in good shape. Rory was next to hit, and McIlroy put his inside of Tiger, maybe 14, 15 feet away. And Bernard Fernandez was the last because he used a driver and bombed it off the tee. He takes a wedge and puts it in maybe about 5 to 8 feet from the hole. So the crowd starts to get going, right? Tiger, you're the greatest. We love you, Tiger. We love you. It dies down. Rory, you're the greatest. We love you, Rory. You're the greatest. Dies down. Guy standing right next to me yells out, "Way to go, other guy!" I looked over. I thought to myself, that was really good.
It was good. Well done.
That was really good. So, so that's in the books.
JJ Spawn.
But look, Pennsylvania, I think Governor Shapiro was saying that golf has a $6.9 billion economic impact on the state. He was at the Philadelphia Cricket Club when they had the tournament there, right? And Governor Shapiro went to that, and then, of course, he was at Oakmont. And he's been getting around to as many sporting events as possible. I mean, he's not shy about showing up. He was here. He was here for the playoff game, and he was talking about the economic impact of the sport on the state, and it's huge. You think about the great golf courses here. I mean,
purely on the U.S. on the U.S. Open sets, you have Oakmont,
Marion,
you've got Marion,
Aronimink. Yeah, Aronimik's really good. Lancaster Country Club has been used now twice for the U.S. Women's Open. Yeah. But there are other places. I mean, the event that we had, you
were at.
I was at. Yeah. And my apologies. I didn't mean to phrase it that way. The event I was at after I was done on Wednesday at Oakmont was at Fox Chapel. Well, Fox Chapel's rated one of the top 15 courses in the state, and they've hosted major events there. It is a gorgeous golf course. And I said, God, it's always fun to be at places that would never invite me. No, but it's all over the state. The Philadelphia club where they played the Pro-Am, big time. Marion's big time. Aronimik's big time. Oakmont's big time. Fox Chapel's big time. Saucon Valley's big time, right? I mean, it's really there's a lot of major league courses, and when you look at the number of USGA events, Pennsylvania's hosted more than any other state. Right? So there we go.
Now we go to a less fun topic for any Boston fans. Steve, what do they call when you do something once and you do it again, knowing the result's going to be the same? Is that called insanity?
Yeah, I don't quite the Rafael Devers trade.
Yes.
The interesting thing is one of the guys they got in that trade was Jordan Hicks.
Yeah.
Who pitched for the Spikes.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, oh, okay, and he's on the injured list right now, so he's not going to pitch for them right away. But look, this is a little bit different than Betts.
Yes.
Betts is I guess I hate referring to guys as generational players. I don't like that.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
But I don't know any other way to phrase it sometimes. The Betts trade made no sense to me because to me that was a Babe Ruth 1921 deal. 1920 deal with the Yankees. You're like, well, what are you doing? Right. The Betts thing made no sense. He wanted to stay.
I got rid of him.
He is you're talking about a guy that beloved community guy. Game one of the World Series, they win. Who's out there at 1 o'clock in the morning feeding homeless people? And that's not me being sarcastic. That actually happened. Like, you trade this guy? You dealt him. Over here in the back, confused. The Devers thing was different in that it was different in that he's been temperamental with them. They acquire Bregman, and look, Devers is not a good defensive third baseman. He's just not. Bregman is a superior defensive third baseman. You'd have to be an idiot to sit there and go, why don't you play second, you play third? I'm like, over here in the back. It makes no sense. This guy's – I mean, Mayer's a better defensive third baseman than Devers is. I mean, that's just the way it is. All right, so you make him a DH. All right, well, it turns out he's the top DH in the American League. He's probably the top DH right now in baseball. When Casas got hurt, and this was after I saw them play, Casas got hurt because Casas delivered the game-winning hit in the game I was at Fenway. They asked about first base, and he wouldn't do it. Now, you're getting paid $30 million a year. Aren't you more inclined to do what they ask you to do? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, they're paying you $331 million.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's not like they're being unreasonable here about what they're asking you to do, but he wouldn't do it. Then John Henry, the owner, got involved, and he refused to budge. Okay. but he's having a great year. You are coming off a sweep of the Yankees. You've won, in fact, 5 in a row against the Yankees.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge can't even get a bunt single.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he hit the 1 home run, typical ESPN. Oh, a big home run. The home run tied the game. They lost. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
He struck out 6 consecutive times against Crochet.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any article on the 6 consecutive strikeouts? Of course not, because, I mean, you're talking about a very simple-minded sports organization. That's what ESPN is. They just go for what they think the headline is. Like, they lost. So he's 1 for 12 in the series and struck out 9 times. Mm-hmm. Devers, meanwhile, homered yesterday. He'd been fighting a little bit of a slump lately, a little bit, not a big deal. But he homers yesterday. They're playing well. They've won 5 in a row. And now you do this. Now, the only plus about what happened here for Boston, in my opinion, the only plus is the Giants, Buster Posey, who's the Giants general manager, they took on all of the 9 years remaining in the contract. So in other words, the Red Sox aren't paying any more money for that deal. So then they can spread it out, whatever they want to do with it. But that's a long-term thing. Short-term, look, Roman Anthony is off to a 1 for 16 start.
Yeah.
I mean, now you can see he's a player. I mean, defensively, you want him out there. He runs the bases well. He gets a lot of walks. He's not like a swing and miss guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Mayer's a good player. Campbell's going to be. But look, Campbell got typical of young players. Gets off to a good start.
And then
Everybody gets a book. The players that have longevity in the game adjust. Okay. They all go through this. Okay. You know, judges, he and Ohtani, it's a choice between who's the best player in the game. If you're a Yankee fan, he's the best player in the game. If you're a Dodger fan, Ohtani is. Doesn't all right. Either one, you'd be like, oh, thank God we have him, right? I don't care if he struck out 9 times over the weekend.
You still want him.
You want him badly. And not only do you want him bad, I'll give you one quick reason. Judge against Whitlock in the 8th inning came up with runners on first and second down 2-0. You're like, okay, here we go. And Whitlock got him to ground into a 5-4-3 double play. The ball was hit pretty hard, but Mayer started it, boom, 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 done, right? But you've watched the replay, Judge is busting his backside down the line. Right? Yeah, in other words, he plays the game hard.
Yeah.
Right? Ohtani did the same thing last night on an infield hit. He does boom, he took off and he beat the pitcher of the bag. So, right, so you got these guys are sitting there as best players in the game, but each one went through slumps at some point. Judge early in his career struggled. But then he adjusted. And now people are trying to figure out ways that you got to really kind of pitch him up in the zone more than anything else.
The problem is you pitch him up all of a sudden.
Yeah, but you have to pitch him up because, I mean, when Crochet threw a really good pitch at 100 the other night, the one he hit out, and he got it down, and that sweet spot him is down just a little bit, and Crochet missed his spot by about 6 inches, right? Because Crochet had been striking him out. But you got to be a little up in the zone with him as opposed to like that, not bot. No, it's in the strike zone, but it's more toward the bottom where he can
get leverage.
He can get underneath it. And I don't even know if he hit the Mass. He may have hit the Mass Turnpike. Who knows? But that's adjustments, right? So now you've got 3 young players in the lineup that are going to have to adjust. You're going to have a guy, for example, he's just up with the team, but you need to have somebody that's going to make up for Devers' power. I mean, he's only second in the American League to Judge in RBIs. And Bregman's not coming back. And Bregman's probably going to opt out at the end of the year. All right. But they're a confusing organization because I don't know what they want. I don't know if I'll make an assumption here, and it's an assumption I've made before.
Go for it.
One of the minority owners in John Henry's group is LeBron James.
Yes.
Okay. Adam Silver was asked the other day about NBA expansion, and it sounds like the door is wide open.
Mm-hmm.
The two primary expansion sites off the top are Seattle, and the other one is
Vegas.
Las Vegas. Which one is LeBron James interested in?
Vegas.
Las Vegas. Okay. Who would he get to be the lead ownership group that would include him in the ownership group to be?
John Henry.
And where do you get the money?
Red Sox.
Liverpool, Red Sox, Penguins. Right? Now, I mean, John Henry is not an absolute money pit.
Yeah.
But he's got a ton of it.
And
But I've had questions about some of the moves they've made in recent years, like Betts, like Devers, where you sit back and say, I don't quite get it, because don't tell me this is an ingenious move. This is now. Let's give Ben Cherington credit. Ben Cherington in 2012, in what was a lost season, traded away Adrian Gonzalez, Josh Beckett, and Carl Crawford. And Crawford had done nothing for the Red Sox.
Yeah, he
had
bad for
done
them.
nothing. Gonzalez has always been a great professional hitter. Beckett, of course, was, in 2007, they don't win the World Series unless Beckett's their starting pitcher, who's their lead guy. Okay. But trade those guys away and like, whoa, all right. And as usual, they got a group of nothing for them. I mean, this is like typical of the Pirates. Hey, look at all the prospects we got. Hey, put the Iron City down for a second. Okay, they're called prospects for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. They haven't done anything. And to the credit of the Pirates, almost every prospect they've acquired has done nothing. Well, same thing in the trade when they made that deal. They got nothing.
Yeah.
Right? The Red Sox, when they dealt Betts, got nothing. I think Connor Wong is
Connor
still with
Wong,
them.
yeah.
He's, Verdugo is part of that, and he helped out for a while. But like everybody else, forget it. You never get value back on that.
No.
Rarely, if ever. It's not like the Doyle Alexander, John Smoltz deal.
Yeah.
Smoltz was in Double-A when he got dealt. But when they made the deal, they saved all that money. And they put all the money into getting Shane Victorino, limited contract. Johnny Gomes, limited contract, right? I mean, all of a sudden they put a team together.
With the money.
And that's how they, I think Lugo was the shortstop. Was Lugo the shortstop? Or it may have been Stephen Drew.
Yeah.
They got Stephen Drew, right? So they took all that money and they were able to get short-term contracts with key guys. And so 2012, they make the deal. They're in last place. 2013, they're World Series champions. Now, it helped that the one guy they kept was David Ortiz. Hey, okay.
Not bad.
Right? Because they had put a long-term deal together for John Lackey. Lackey had been in, out, in, out, in. I remember Dave O'Brien, who does the Red Sox games. We were at Michigan State. Dave came up to me and he says, "Steve, what do you think of the Lackey signing?" I said, I think he's really good. I said, obviously he's been great, with the Angels in the playoffs in 2002. I said, and Lackey kind of just went along. And then in 2013, he pitched great. And then when they needed him in relief in Game 5 of the World Series, he was great. Right? It's like, okay, after pitching well as a starter, I mean, sometimes it takes a while to pay off, but that's what they did. They took the money and they were able to get a team like that. And Cherington did that. But I don't quite see what they're doing with this. Tibbs is a great prospect. I'm like going, you know what? I mean, sorry, you've got to do it on the major league level. I don't want to hear about what a great prospect he is. They sent him to Worcester right away. I think Harrison they sent to Worcester right away too. Probably just to get him more acclimated. And then Hicksey is not going to be Jordan Hicks. Hicksey's not going to be available for a little bit. But I don't know.
Yeah. What I will say off the rip,
This is not a Luka Doncic trade. Okay,
No,
this is not Luka.
It is not Luka, and at the same time, people are saying that the John Henry not spending thing. The same time that's happening, Liverpool is spending a record fee on Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen. It's projected to be 120 million euros, 40 million almost over what they've paid at their most.
Right,
so
and 120 million euros is about 135 million dollars.
Yeah,
right. Because remember, euros what about $1.12 on what the American dollar is right now.
Yes. And in terms of transfer fees, this would end up being...
People are like, where does he come up with all this Forbes
This
stuff?
would be a top 5 all-time transfer, pure numerical, including everything. It'll get up to 150, which would be third all-time in terms of any player ever, behind Neymar and Kylian Mbappe, who, by the way, bought in the same summer, which is still crazy.
Right.
But 150 is
and
the
Liverpool,
end
by the way,
result.
ran away with the Premier League.
Yes, they ran away with the Premier League.
I mean, they ran away with it.
Yes, and they already went and bought a new right back in Jeremy Frimpong. They're getting a new left back in Milos Kerkez. They're getting Florian Wirtz. There's projections they'll get more players too. They'll sell some guys on, of course.
First
but
of all, you're shocked. I know they ran away.
I know. No, we discussed it. Myself and Dick already watched a few games at an airport, sitting there, and you would watch along with us. It's good. But the point is, Liverpool are spending money, who again, John Henry, part of the ownership group. So it's not like they're not willing to spend money in the ownership group. It's just, I think fans have a very sour taste after what happened with Betts, as we've discussed. That was a Luka level trade.
Of course it was.
That was the same level. Devers is not, but the problem is the wound is still fresh and it's still open, and you reopen it again for reasons we don't know. And as you said, they were streaking. He was the team leader in batting average, home runs, and RBIs. He leads the team in all 3.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here on ESPN on the homepage, team leaders in batting, Devers. It's like, what are we doing? At some point, what's happening here? And for the Giants, they make this trade. They've been trying to get the star for a while.
Oh, they've been trying to do
everything.
They tried to
Judge,
Carlos Correa.
Yeah.
I mean, they've tried everything, and San Francisco kept finishing second. And part of the reason is, San Francisco for years have been one of the more beautiful cities in the world to go to. San Francisco in the last 5 to 10 years, I don't know if you've been to San Francisco, it's kind of changed because they've had some issues there. It's like, you know, and people don't want to go there.
Yeah. And in terms of the Giants, they now get their big player, their big bat, and Buster Posey said wants to go and get those guys. So now they have him. They have Matt Chapman as well, so he's not going to go back to playing third base, Devers. So he'll probably end up remaining DH with Wilmer Flores shifting over to first, is the projection.
Probably, yeah.
But they get themselves a new bat, and the Giants are happy. You mentioned Shohei Ohtani staying on the baseball front.
He's going to pitch tonight.
Ohtani.
He's going to pitch tonight, by the way.
Pitch tonight against the San Diego Padres, 21 months after a second repair for his UCL. He's expected to throw 1 to 2 innings. It's going to be a quick start for him, but he is going to pitch. And that is the idea that Shohei Ohtani is back pitching should be a sight people are scared by. Because, as we saw, he was what? When he was pitching and hitting, he was what? A top 10 pitcher and a top 2 hitter at the same time.
Yeah.
And if they're healthy, you've got Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki, Tony Gonsolin, and you've got Yamamoto as well.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Ohtani's now back. So you don't have to rush him back. Of course, they're all injured. There's injuries everywhere right now.
Glasnow's down. Tyler's hurt. So.
But hypothetically, when all are returned healthy, you don't you can slow roll Ohtani. You don't have to put him back in. He's not needed to be the number 1 guy for them because they're still the Dodgers. So what are your thoughts, Ohtani returning to pitching?
I think it's great. It's great. First of all, it's great for the sport. Because I know people have made the comparisons about Babe Ruth. Ruth's career was really divided in two between the Red Sox and the Yankees. Let's throw the Braves out. That was half a season. He was primarily a pitcher with the Red Sox most of his early career. He was a 20-game winner twice. World Series wins on the mound. And held the record simultaneously, I think for 32 years, where he had the most home runs in the World Series, 15, and also held the record for 29 and 2/3 scoreless innings as a pitcher in the World Series. Okay, right.
Mm-hmm.
There was a period of time, I think it was mostly in 1919, where he was doing both, and he led the American League in home runs with 29 while still pitching. Right, but then when he got to the Yankees, he only pitched 5 times for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
When he had hit all the home runs and everything. I mean, I think with the Yankees he hit over 600 home runs. I think, and of the 714 is like 650 home runs or some number like that. But he only pitched 5 times for the Yankees, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from 21 to 1934. Right. This is different in that. The idea is for him is to take the ball eventually every 5th day or 6th day.
It's to do what he did
with the Angels.
Yeah.
And there is a skill with which Ohtani pitches. I mean, he is an excellent pitcher. He has really good location.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit surprised that he needed Tommy John surgery because I felt like his motion looked really good to me. In other words, he didn't like he was putting that much stress.
Mm-hmm.
Right, between the elbow and the shoulder, with his motion. But I mean, things happen, and it's just good for the game because this is completely different. Again, it's Ruthian in that Ruth was a great pitcher when he pitched.
Yes,
he was a great hitter when he hit. There was only a short window where he really was doing both, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one, it has more of a long-term effect of with the Dodgers. They would like to see him pitch, not force the issue. That's one thing when you have a great hitter like Ohtani. You have to force him to be out there to pitch. But yeah. So yeah, I think it's great for the sport. He's going to do it because I think it's the sport needs something fun, and that's fun.
And he has provided the fun. He has provided the star quality, and baseball in terms of promoting its stars is up and down about it. There's certain guys they can promote, like they weren't really able to promote Trout really well.
Well, they're going to promote Trout well because of the West Coast thing.
But the thing is,
when 47% of the population lives in the Eastern time zone, and you have a guy playing in the Western time zone all the time. In other words, in reality, what do Penn State fans know about USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon?
Just where they are.
Right. I mean, they don't really know a lot about them until like the week of the game. You learn a lot more about who they are, what they aren't, and so forth. Because you don't get a chance to see them that often.
And
right?
baseball,
well, it's the same thing with this. Trout's been on the West Coast. And so to East Coast fans, for the most part, he has been playing in anonymity. Ohtani's the same way, except Ohtani has a double whammy on him. And Ichiro went through this.
Yeah.
Ichiro played in Seattle, so you heard a lot about him. You saw highlights about him. And by the way, right, he's from Japan, which means he's not really fluent in speaking English or is not comfortable in doing it. So you can't really do commercials around him. Okay? Ohtani is the same way. Ohtani does New Balance commercials, but it says, if you listen to what he says, all he says is, New Balance. Right? So you have him playing on the West Coast. He's a phenomenon. But you're seeing most of the time most of the time he's on SportsCenter and not you actually watching the game.
Yeah.
And he's not in commercials, even though he's a young, good-looking guy, would be a great, but again, to be a spokesperson, you have to speak fluently the language of the people you're trying to sell to.
What I will say is baseball they have gotten quite fortunate in how this has worked now that you have Ohtani on the West Coast and you have Aaron Judge on the East, where for the past 2 years, it's pretty much been them going back and forth. We've seen it quite a bit where it's like, who's better? Like they've been able to not pit one another against each other, but make it more of a East Coast and West Coast thing, LA, New York, and it's helped build the two's profile because they've had each other to go against, which has helped a little bit, where it's not the same as Sosa and McGuire, but like in terms of you've got two guys going, different time zones, different days, different things, it has helped a little bit.
Right, but I mean, this is the difference between the NBA and Major League Baseball, and it's a huge difference. Luka was dealt; that was earth shattering.
Yeah.
Okay, and now Dallas has ended up, ironically, with the number 1 pick. They're going to get Cooper Flag. All right, that's fine. But Devers, who's a Major League star, World Series champion, he was part of the 2018 team, with Bogarts, whom they didn't re-sign, he went to San Diego, with Betts, whom they've now dealt to Los Angeles, and now Devers goes to the Giants. But he gets dealt, and that's an earth-shattering trade. The NBA portrays Desmond Bain as an earth-shattering trade to Orlando, it is not.
They do not portray him as that, as someone who was on the social media.
That is being portrayed as an earth-shattering trade in the NBA. I mean, I'm looking at ESPN.com, right? Shocking trade as Bain goes, like, who cares? Nobody cares. Okay, I'm sorry. It has no impact on what's going on. Orlando is not winning a championship because they have Desmond Bain. Is he a good player? Yes. Is he a great player? No. Okay, if the Celtics acquired Desmond Bain, I'm like, okay, he'll help. Okay, if Jason Tatum got traded, that's an earth-shattering trade, right? This guy is a good player, not a great player, right? And yet the NBA portrays it, okay? Grizzlies shocked everyone by sending young star. They're like, that's nice. With him, they were going nowhere, okay? Orlando is a good team, but they're like a 6th seed in a league where 6 seeds don't do much.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, it's just, it's like...
I think in his regard, it's less of the player, more of the 4 unprotected firsts and the swap. Because that's where the number comes in, where it's like 4 firsts. Like, that's a
Ponzi scheme.
I know, but
the NBA is filled with Ponzi schemes. I mean, what is it? The Suns have all these first-round picks.
Oh, they have none right now.
I'm saying, well, somebody has like a ton of first-round picks.
The Thunder still have $1 billion and a half.
Nobody cares. I mean, it doesn't do anything.
Well, say that.
I've done this over and over again. With the draft, I've done this over and over again. How many players just don't do anything?
I know. But we say the picks don't matter, and then all of a sudden you look and the Thunder are now in the NBA Finals. Game 5 is happening tonight in Oklahoma City.
They got with a 2 pick. The other guys they acquired in trades.
But how do they get them in trades? They got rid of the players they had.
They got rid of
a lot
Paul
of draft
George.
assets. But they took Paul George, took a flyer on a guy like Shohei, who they thought could be really good.
Yeah, but that's a trade.
MVP. And they got in the pick with the middle of the first-round pick for Jalen Williams. Right. And then I've slowly built this roster out to this point. They got Lou Dort as an undrafted. Casey Wallace is a mid-first-round pick. Like, they built it out really well.
Yeah, but Dort's an undrafted pick.
I know.
All right, now look, the Celtics got a 3 with Tatum. They got a 3 with Jaylen Brown. Okay.
Because the Nets sucked.
Right, but they acquired, White from San Antonio, who had been the last pick of the first round. Holiday, they acquired it. It's that's how these teams are acquired. They're built that way. It's just, for the most part, the NBA is struggling because, for a couple reasons. One, they have the inability to properly portray how good players are.
Unless your name is LeBron, Steph, KD,
right? Or Tatum. Okay,
but even then, Tatum is put almost to the side.
Right, but I'm just, I mean, Curry is a star, right? This guy's a really good player. Did I say he's a bad player? No, I say he's a really good player, but he's not a star.
No,
right? I'm sorry. Okay, a star is a household name. Okay, how many of you heard of Desmond Bain for the trade? Then you have a network that tries to portray these guys as stars, where they're in the NBA Finals, and guess what the NBA Finals has been about on ESPN? What's it been about? It's been about the people covering it. It's been about Pat McAfee talking about Stephen A. Smith, talking about Kendrick Perkins, talking about who the heck cares? I don't care what Stephen. No offense, they don't care what I have to say. They don't. Well, guess what? We're now even. I don't care what you have to say either. But they've been talking more about themselves instead about the finals. So your job is to cover the finals. Scott Van Pelt covers the finals. He brings on guests. He talks to them. He does a great job. If I'm the NBA, I'm like sitting there like, I can't ask for a guy to do a better job of promoting our sport than what he's doing by having SportsCenter there. These other guys do nothing. Right? When they're sitting there and they're talking about themselves all the time and spending an inordinate amount of time talking about each other and themselves instead of talking about what's in front of them, that's just all wrong. That's all wrong. And it's bad for the game. It's bad for the sport. It's bad for the league. Right? There's reasons why their pregame, halftime, postgame has changed over and over and over and over again because it's just bad TV. And now we get to the finals, and if there's a finals that needs help in portraying the great talent that's out there, there's great talent out there. These teams play very well as teams together, and they have talent. You know, here's a chance to introduce a great young star and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to the country. Okay? Here's a great chance to promote a young star in Tyrese Halliburton to the country, or a Chet Holmgren. Thanks to Gonzaga, they sort of know him.
Yeah.
They've done none of that because they've been talking about each other the entire time. Right? Oh, another feud between McAfee and Stephen A. Smith. Oh, yeah, and Kendrick Perkins. I don't care. Like the other day, I was sitting at Face Luna waiting to get food, okay? So I'm watching some of the U.S. Open. Then I looked over and they had another TV on. The other TV on, Kendrick Perkins was on talking about something. He's riding in the car. Like, why are you riding in the car? If they need you, either pull over to the side or set up someplace to do it where it's a proper venue instead of you riding in the car. I don't understand what the thought process is behind what they do. And then you got the pro of all pros and Mike Breen, who is brilliant beyond words and no ego. I have so much respect for Mike, personally and professionally. I just don't get what they do with this thing. They've spent all this time talking about each other and not talking about the brilliance we're seeing on the court. How Nembhard is, okay, they'll talk about it in the broadcast, but how Nembhard is defending SGA and how, look, there are times where he's been brilliant and other times where SGA has been so good, he's overcome the brilliance of the defender and made plays. How Oklahoma City won the game the other night because what did they go away from? Okay, remember I was talking about Alabama-Auburn earlier in the year? And Alabama, right, kept missing threes, and they should have taken to the basket more just to steady the ship. You watched that game the other night. Oklahoma City's missing threes. Missing threes. They changed. They started taking the ball to the bucket. Williams was really taking the ball to the bucket. SGA was getting to the mid-range or whatever. I think they took 1 3, and it was Shea. He made it.
They went 3 for 16 in total on threes.
Right, but he took 1 in the fourth quarter. I think that as a team they took 1, and he made it when they needed it because they changed tactics because they knew something wasn't working. That has not happened a lot in these playoffs. The Celtics were the worst example of that. Against the Knicks, they would not change their tactics. They kept taking 40 to 53s in the game and kept missing them, just acting like, well, we'll hit the next one and we'll hit the next
Eventually
5.
it'll go in.
It'll eventually go in. Oklahoma City changed tactics the other night. But instead, it's McAfee, it's Smith, it's Kendrick Perkins talking about each other and feuding with each other. I don't care about your feud. I don't know you people. I don't really care. You don't care what I think. I don't care what you think. And I don't care about your feud. Tell me what you're seeing out there. And it's not about personalities. I don't care about the personalities on the court. Tell me why they changed tactics and why it worked. It's a basketball game.
That's why I have gotten a lot more into listening to podcasts. And of course, this show can be podcasted as well. You can find it on your podcast platform of choice because we put up clips like this all the time. And I love listening to Zach Lowe, my favorite podcaster. He's
very good.
He's good because he analyzes the game, he talks about it, and he gets excited over the little things. And like I hear that, and I'm as someone who doesn't know a lot of the X's and O's of basketball, I get excited about that. That's what I love hearing about and learning about. And that's why a lot of people are drawn to LeBron and Steve Nash doing the podcast. Originally, it was LeBron and JJ, but now JJ's his coach, so not doing it together anymore. But podcasts like that, where you're sitting here and they're analyzing it and breaking it down, because hearing it broken down to the level they do, and like the small thing that happens, where LeBron describes, when I know that when Cason Wallace jumps a half step this way,
that's right.
He's immediately thinking he's going to go backwards immediately. So I know if he starts to go backwards at all, I can stop here and he's not going to be able to get to me.
That's right.
Like those things when you hear LeBron talk about it, or in the case of a Zach Lowe, talking about it, breaking it down.
How often do you hear me say, what is one of the more important things going into any game? What are the
matchups?
Right. I say that all the time.
I've learned. Look at that.
But I've said that for years. We spend too much time talking about the irrelevant and not about what could win or lose a game. Right? Matchups.
Yeah.
Right? Nembhard against Shohei is a matchup. It's beautiful to watch the two of them because Nembhard plays beautiful defense. Right? It was like watching Michael Cooper against Larry Bird. Eventually, Bird would win because he's just that good. Shohei won the other night because he's just that good. And Nembhard put together an A performance as a defender. An A.
Yeah.
He wasn't on the winning team.
No. But
Shohei was able to get points. But that's because he's a great offensive player going against a great defensive player. Now, other matchups come into play, as do, Turner matching up against
Chet
Holmgren. Okay, that's interesting because both guys are inside-out players. All right, and you watch them, the footwork of each defensively, because what don't you see in today's game? What you don't. Tell me the last time you saw in this series a post-up. Let's go into the post. Let's back somebody in and take a shot.
Not a lot.
That's because you don't see it anymore. And these two centers do not play that way.
They both play the same style of we can hit threes and then we can go in.
We can go in, but when they go in, it's a drive. Okay, it's not a post up.
Which, by the way, Chet needs to stop driving with his head down and putting up a lollipop when Miles Turner is a shot blocker.
Right. No, but that's part of the matchup. See, matchups mean everything as to why can team A beat B, B can beat C. So the assumption is A will beat C. Well, no, I don't understand why C beat A because they have a matchup that was favorable to them. This is what they need to be talking about. I don't care if Stephen A. Smith's playing solitaire. And I don't care if he's playing solitaire at the game. Who gives a darn? I could care less, right? You don't want to do your job? That's your business, okay? But why is it a story? It's irrelevant to me, right? And they've spent more time in the finals talking about each other and less time telling the fans about the game and making the game a better experience for the fans. It's your job to make it a better, more informative experience for the fans. Instead, they're talking about each other.
Game 5 tonight, who wins? In Oklahoma City, Game 5.
Oklahoma City wins tonight, but I think it's going to be one of those where they will build a little bit of a lead. Indiana will come back. It's going to be dramatic the last 4 minutes, but Oklahoma City will do enough to win.
We're going at least 6 games.
And remember, I picked Oklahoma City in 5, so I was wrong about this.
I did too.
Right?
But now we're going at least 6 games. Could go 7.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.